The Mac Observer's Mac Geek Gab episode 829 for Monday, August 17th. Happy birthday, Lise, 2020. Welcome to the Mac Observer's Mac Geek Gab, the show where we take your questions, your tips, your cool stuff found, we mix them all together. The goal is that each and every one of us learns at least 5 new things by sharing those cool stuff found, by answering questions together, by just digging in and learning, because it's what we like to do. We always like to do that. I'd like to thank our 4 sponsors for this episode: eero.com/MGG, linode.com/MGG, expressvpn.com/MGG, and sunsoil.com/MGG. We'll talk about all of those in a little more detail later on. But we certainly appreciate their sponsorships and appreciate you taking a look at them. Whether you buy from our sponsors or not is up to you. As always, it's our job to let you know about them and encourage you to visit their sites so that you can learn more. That's our piece in it, and we appreciate your piece in it too. So thank you. Here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And here in Fairfield, Connecticut, this is John F. Braun.
How you doing today, Mr. John F. Braun?
As well as can be expected. That's
fair. Yeah, given the state of everything, that's fair. Making it through. I'm glad we get to do this. That's a fortunate thing. So yeah, it's good. It's good. I like that we get to see each other doing this now. For those of you that don't know, that have only been listening to the audio stream, which is totally fine. We still record an audio show. We now just allow you to watch us record an audio show if you so choose. But it's the people that benefit the most from it, I think, are you and me, John, because we get to see each other. Because otherwise, we wouldn't be getting to see each other at all these days. So it's nice. Hi. Yeah, it's good to see you, man. All right. Let's do some quick tips and see where things bring us, shall we? We will start with listener Dale. As soon as I can organize my notes here. I get too many notes, John. Dale tells us, here's another thing that allows you to use your phone to scan. We've talked about the Files app scanning in your phone, and you can certainly do that. Dale reminds us you can open notes on your phone, choose the camera, and scan documents. Then you can email or whatever you want from the Notes app. So, yep. Thanks, Dale. I love it. You know, the timing of this worked out great because my Hewlett-Packard multifunction laser printer fax scanner, the software for it became obsoleted by Catalina. It's 32-bit only. HP has not made scanner software for Catalina for that device. None of the third-party stuff works. But I keep thinking, well, at some point I got to replace it. But I love the laser printer part of it. I love the fax part of it when I need to do that, and it can copy things, which is super handy. And quite frankly, iOS 13 with its, sort of built-in scanning functionality has so far completely mitigated that. I will be doing my personal taxes come, like in the next month or so, because it's time, because I always file an extension because of the businesses and all that stuff. But and that's where I wind up. That's my biggest single scanning moment of the year. In terms of that, but yeah, I'm not worried about it this year. I think it'll be fine. I mean, I've scanned entire books for shows with the iPhone, so yeah, yes. Mr.
Right now, I haven't tried this. I don't know if you have, but will Notes on Mac OS also import from? I think I tried this. I think it'll
from the iOS camera. You mean?
Or the built-in camera. I don't know if I've ever tried using the built-in FaceTime one, which isn't that great, right?
No, I don't think it'll scan from there, but it probably will let you use continuity or whatever
right,
tech
okay.
app, right, to use your phone to pull it in, because you can do that in Mail, and I think Notes will do the same thing. Yeah, yeah. But that's a good question. Now, I don't think it'll scan like if you hold it up in front of your Mac or whatever, but I quite frankly, I haven't tried it. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Let us know if you know. Feedback at macgeekgab.com. We'd love to hear.
Did you say feedback? at macgeekgab.com?
I did. Yeah. I said feedback at macgeekgab.com. That's not just tips and follow-ups, but also your questions. That's where you send them. All right. Let's go to Todd, who says, I don't know how I missed this for so long, but I just discovered right-clicking on a tab in Safari and also in Chrome and selecting duplicate tab. He says, I've always command-clicked a link to open it in another tab, but sometimes that does not work. Right-clicking the tab to duplicate it really solves the problem. When I edit a WordPress site, I often log in and duplicate the resulting tab 3 times. Then I can open the media page in one tab, edit page on another, etc. It's true. There are some things where even if you command-click on a link, it still opens in that same tab, depending on how the JavaScript works for that particular link. So that's a handy thing. So I've got 2 things that I'm 2/5 of the way there, John. It's going to be a short episode, right? Because we just stop when we hit the 5. No, we don't. We keep trucking. Right.
Do you want to have 3 different views on the same WordPress page? I never thought of doing that.
Not so much the same page, but the same back end. Yeah. Like when I'm in our Mac Observer back end, I will often have, like maybe the updates page open, like he said, the media tab, so I can look through and find pictures, an edit tab. I might have a preview page open. So yeah, I mean, but not the same. I don't think it would work to have the same edit page open. I think that would actually kind of confuse the browser or WordPress or both, but yeah. Pretty good. Any more on that one before we truck along here, John?
Nope.
Okay. Juan says, I was using Apple Pay, easy for you to say, to purchase some stuff via Safari on my Mac. And for whatever reason, I kept getting an error message on my watch that it couldn't connect to the internet. And therefore, I could not complete the transaction. He says, I didn't know what to do next as I didn't see any obvious way not to ask my watch to be the thing that verifies the payment until I clicked on the credit card drop-down list on my Mac. That's where I was able to choose a credit card from my phone instead of my watch and authenticate on my phone. Yeah, pretty good, Juan. Yeah, Apple Pay on the Mac is great. Where it gets even better is when your Mac has a T2 chip in it or a fingerprint reader, and you can do it all on your Mac too. That's like the next step. But you're right. Yeah, it totally works fine from your phone too. Yeah. Thoughts on that one, Mr. Braun?
Okay. Yeah, I think I did that with my old, because of course now, I have Apple Pay on my new MacBook. But when I didn't, it was interesting to, it was like, well, I want to buy this using Apple Pay. Why can't I? And then I looked over my phone, and my phone was like, hey, you want to buy something, put your finger here. So
do this. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, you can Face ID or Touch ID on the phone and then authenticate that way. So, John, I've been, I stumbled on my own quick tip this week. I was deleting some big files. Actually, the video files of I record every episode locally here, even though we stream it to YouTube and Facebook. I record a video copy here, and I wasn't being smart, first of all, and I was recording it in super ProRes video Apple format, which meant I had these 60 gigabyte files. This week I'm recording it as H.265 HEVC, so it'll be way, way, way smaller. But anyway, I have to prune through those and delete them every now and then. And I realized, well, even just deleting them, I still then need to empty them from my trash, but I don't want to empty other things from my trash. So it's I know Clean My Mac can do this, but there's got to be a way. And so I looked in my trash can and I right-clicked on one of these big Mondo 60 gig files that was there. And sure enough, I found my answer. Delete immediately is in the list of things that when you right-click on a file in the trash, and it deletes just that file immediately. There's also empty trash, which of course deletes everything. But really nice to be able to cherry pick and say, yep, that's the one I want. Thank you. Good to go. So I didn't know it until a few days ago, so I figured I'd share. I bet I'm not the only one. So did you know about that one?
I know about that through a slightly different means.
Okay.
So if you're in the Finder, so you did this from within the trash can.
In the Finder, in the trash can, correct. Yep.
Right, from the Finder itself, I'm just looking now. So in the File menu, so I highlighted a file, I'm in the File menu, and if I hold down, which one? Option.
Okay.
You will see delete immediately show up in the list of things as well. So if you want to delete immediately from the Finder level.
Interesting.
Yeah, and let's see, it's a Command Option Delete. Okay, yeah, I think I've done that on occasion when I'm like, yeah, I want to get rid of this now.
Huh.
So there you go. I think we're up to 4 or 5. Okay,
yeah, I like it.
Bye.
This is great.
No.
This is great. All right. Let's see. I am going to take us to Dmitry here. And Dmitry reminds us, he says, for the cool tips section, quick tips, he says, I used 3-finger drag on my MacBook. It's now second nature. He says, the way it works is similar to tap with 2 fingers and secondary click. Instead, I tap 3 fingers and then I can drag. He says, I use it to move windows around, files and folders in the Finder, select cells in Excel, you name it. No need to move my thumb and really click and hold the touchpad with moving another finger. He says, I'm so used to this pattern that one day I found myself extremely frustrated when I had to work for a day on a different MacBook where 3-finger drag wasn't working. I went to System Preferences Trackpad and the setting wasn't there. He says, I sighed and I kept on working. And 10 minutes later, a thought struck me. He says, Dave would always recommend to go to the accessibility settings when you need something out of the ordinary with HID, human interface device, to happen. Lo and behold, accessibility, system preferences, accessibility, mouse and trackpad options button, enable dragging checkbox, 3-finger drag in the dropdown, problem solved. I love this for a million reasons. One, it's, the cool stuff in accessibility. And number 2, we are happy to tell you individual things to do. We love informing. That's our 5 new things. But really, the goal is to get everybody thinking so that you can figure these things out on your own. And that's exactly what Dmitry did. So that made me quite happy this week to know that it's working. So it only took us 15 years, John. It's working. It's working. So I don't know. What do you think? Did you have you ever done the 3-finger drag? I kind of like it now that I've got it.
I think I already used 3-finger drag. I'm trying.
Okay. I know it's one of those things that it's new for me for sure. I had not had it turned on with this until we and it's not always. I think he might have been talking about Mojave. For me, it's in system preferences, accessibility, pointer control, trackpad options, enable dragging, and then you can choose 3-finger drag right there, and then it works just fine. So yeah, it's either mouse and trackpad or pointer options, depending on either your version of the OS or what devices you have connected at the time. I think either of those might change it. So yeah, I got one last quick tip, John, unless we have more on that one. Okay. Thomas reminds us, he says in the last episode, 2 episodes ago, where we were talking about McKay's problem with display contrast, he says, in bygone times, I worked as a consultant and some of my customers had this issue too. I never got to how they did it, but I figured it had to be a keyboard shortcut. He says, so I searched on Apple's accessibility shortcuts and found an article about controlling the contrast of your display with the keyboard. And sure enough, he says Control Option Command period. And I think comma will go in the other direction. So it's controlling the contrast of the display with keyboard shortcuts. And so he thinks that people were hitting Control Option Command and then hitting either period or comma and messing with their contrast. So maybe that's a thing that you'll remember one of these days. But we'll put a link in the show notes to the Apple Knowledge Base article that Thomas found so that so that we all have it. Good? Yeah?
Good.
All right, Mr. Braun. You have found a thing, my friend, and it's completely an awesome thing, and it's related to email security. So I want to talk about that, and it's going to be epic because we can finally get back to that. But if it's okay with you, I would like to also take a minute and talk about our first two sponsors, if that works for you.
Excellent.
All right. You know, these days our homes aren't just our homes. There are offices, there are schools, they are our movie theaters, they are our restaurants, right? They're everything. And for most of those activities, we're using Wi-Fi. And if Wi-Fi is not good in all the places in the house, that's not good, because now everybody's on top of each other in the one spot where the Wi-Fi is good. Solve this problem with eero. That's how you're going to get solid Wi-Fi in your whole house. We talk about it here all the time. Eero has been doing this for a very long time, and they've figured out a lot of the little nuances, right? That's what we talk about here on the show is with mesh, they've got to have the experience so that they can sort through all the little niggles and nuances that happen when you get all these different types of devices together. Your smart home devices, your cell phones, your computers, your printers, all that stuff need to work together. And eero has figured it out. They're, you know, with eero, you don't have weird problems where your IoT devices, like, you know, suddenly are on and then off the network. No, because they've been through it. They know, they've iterated, they've built the software, they've got a mature platform. And that's one of the reasons that we love them here. It's one of the reasons that we use them here, because you want to be able to be on a work call while the kids are doing their remote school and somebody else streaming videos all at the same time without anybody really having to coordinate with each other. That's what you're going to get from eero, and it's super dead simple to manage because you just do it with an app. It really takes care of a lot of the smarts for you. You just use the app to kind of see what's going on. And it'll tell you if you need to do anything, which is even better. You know, we're asking a lot of our Wi-Fi, and eero can help yours do more. Go to eero.com/MGG and be sure to enter code MGG at checkout to get free next day shipping with your order. That's eero.com/MGG, code MGG at checkout to get your eero delivered with free next day shipping. That's eero.com/MGG, code MGG. Our thanks to eero for sponsoring this episode. You know, once you get your Wi-Fi together, you're going to want to think about the next project that you're doing. That next project, you're probably going to need a server for, and that's what you're going to want Linode for at linode.com/MGG, because at linode.com/MGG, you get a $20 credit immediately added to your Linode account. No credit card required. Just go do it. Linode.com/MGG. And then you can spin up a server using your $20 credit. In fact, you can spin up one of their lowest priced $5 a month Nanode servers, so you got a lot of time to play and tweak things. Of course, then when you're ready to launch whatever it is you're doing next, and it might just be like a little VPN server for you, or maybe even a Minecraft server for you, or a WordPress server, or any other kind of server, because the folks at Linode are server geeks. They know how to do it all. You spin that server up. When it's time to launch it, if you need more, CPU or RAM or something, or hard drive space or SSD space, really, they don't use hard drives. They only use SSDs, by the way. Yeah, then you can pay for more, right? But otherwise, start with that $5 Nanode and grow from there. And you can do it with the credit that they're about to give you, because you're going to go to linode.com/MGG. So go there, start up your server, have some fun, build something new, have a good story to tell about what you did in COVID. Go to linode.com/MGG. Our thanks to Linode for sponsoring this episode. Back on. There we are. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, let's just make sure the streams come back alive. I think we had a problem with the stream, but I also think it's back. Let's see. Yeah, okay. But the video's back. Is that right? Are you folks seeing the video on the stream back? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. Let me make sure of this. Let me turn that on. Yes, I see that we are back. That's excellent news. Okay, good. I will bring us back in carefully here. I finished the sponsor read, and so now it's just a matter of getting you back in. So here we go. All right, John, tell us about the email security, if you would, please.
Well, Andrew sent in a question, which you may recall in the past, we talked about encrypting and signing your email if you get a certificate. And for the longest time, this bunch called Komodo, who I think changed their name for whatever reason.
Well, they also changed their policies, right? That was the big issue.
Well, they no longer offered a free SMIME certificate because, as far as I know, everybody would go to them to get a free one.
Right.
But then they had this, unrealistic, business model that they should actually charge money for these. So anyways, we kind of, stopped using them between us and others because I guess we didn't really want to purchase them, though you certainly can from a lot of people.
Totally. Yeah. It really, for me, it just came down to most people didn't care whether I had an SMIME email cert. Most people that I communicated with didn't have them. So having a secure communication wasn't happening. And on iOS, it was always a mess to try and get that to work. It really only ever worked well on the Mac. So it was like when it stopped being free, it was like, yeah, that's fine. I have GPGTools. So if I need to have secure communications with someone, it's totally doable. So, yeah.
Right.
So,
but got a question from Andrew. And so I did a little research here, but he was saying, just wondering if Apple Mail still has the ability to send encrypted secure email. I can't seem to find the area where I can choose to send an email encrypted. Also, if I send an email encrypted from my side and the other person does not have encrypted email, does it make a difference? Meaning, is the email still safe in transit until it reaches the recipient, or is it the same as just sending regular email?
Right.
Good question.
Yeah, good question.
So
exactly.
To answer this question, because the thing is, normally you will see icons in the Mail app showing if you can encrypt or sign something. And I didn't see those icons because I didn't have a current certificate. So I went on a search, and I think I found it on Reddit or something. But so the answer is one. Yes, it does. At least Catalina, the latest, or I confirmed this. But it is non-intuitive in that you won't see these icons. So they appear above the above the signature selection,
right,
and to the far right of the subject row. You'll see two icons. One is a little block and one is a check mark.
The good news is we have an article on Mac Observer that Jeff Butts wrote that details all of this stuff. He has, I think today he's updating it to add these new certs that you found, John. But in terms of the instructions of getting it into Mail on the Mac, those instructions are there, and we will link to those in the show notes for sure, because trying to explain this audibly, I'm not sure we will succeed, but yeah, it's there. It's there. iOS is a little different, but there you go. So.
Right. So the answer is yes. So once you get a free certificate or decide to pay for one, you'll be able to send a signed message to someone,
right?
Which proves that it's from your email address is what signing is. But the answer here is that there are a couple of ways to do this. The way that most of us do this is what you do is send a signed message to the person that you want to do encrypted stuff with. What that does is that encloses your certificate within the email message. And once they receive the message, it'll put your certificate in their keychain, and then you can both exchange.
Got it. Yeah, right. That makes sense. Yep. Yeah. Wait. Once
now, you could also manually, if you go to keychain access and you. Right. Now, what you could do is you could also send your certificate without sending an email. To me, it's just Just send an email because that's what you're going to be doing anyways.
Right.
I mean, you could go in Keychain Access and export it and put it in I think a .cer file and send that to someone else. So your initial exchange could then, or if you both exchange certificates without doing it through email, then you can start sending encrypted and signed stuff right away.
Right.
If you want to approach it that way.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Right. That is the other way to do it. Yeah.
So I found. So I found a place. I've never heard of them, but I think it was on Reddit. So I was searching for free S-MIME certificate, and I came up with an article, and they said, "Hey, try these guys," and I tried these guys, and they work. And we'll link to where you can sign up for the certificate, but it's Actalis.it, which .it means Italy, as far as I can tell, because some of the emails that they exchange with you to set up your account or to set up your certificate were in Italian for me.
Right. Yeah, same. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, the webpage was in English, but the emails were in Italian. So, but I was able to grok what they were doing. They actually have an interesting approach, Dave, that I hadn't seen before, but they actually password protect the certificate file and then send you the password, which I guess is an extra verification step.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, the other guys or the other guys typically didn't do that. They just sent you the certificate and there you go. So I guess that's that. That's the answer to that. So, yeah. And I got a reply back and he said, yeah, I may try this. The only caution, as with Komodo, is that you may not want to, you got to think about why you want to use a free certificate. You may want to use a free certificate to just test the waters, but I don't know if I would rely on that because they could pull a fast one, or change their business model. So you got to think about, and the thing is, you will have to manage this if you're doing this for an enterprise. Somebody's going to have to keep track of all the certs and stuff and when to renew them, right?
Right.
And so free is not free in this case, is that somebody's going to have to put in some effort in order to manage their certificates and make sure they're all up to date, right?
Totally. Yeah. All right. I'm having weird network problems again here, John, and I'm seeing things not behaving. So I think I'm going to do what I did last time and restart the iMac in the office. I mean, I don't know why that would cause any problems, but sudo shutdown -r now. I'm on the right computer, iMac Office. I don't want to be shutting this one down. Okay. So I have reset my network here. And just for good measure, I'm going to reset our little connection between us here, John. And we will see, because I think Mr. Braun is back. Yep, got our little connection. Yep. You're with me? Okay. All right. Well, we'll see if the wacky ping times that I was experiencing before are that was a weird thing the last time this happened with the iMac causing all kinds of issues. But restarting it, pulling it off the network and then restarting it made all the difference in the world the last time. It's just so weird. I don't get it, but it's fine. It's fine. Okay, I think we're in better shape here. I'm looking at my ping trail and everything. Yes. All right. Yeah. Okay. Shall we continue here? I want to continue on the mail.
Yes.
The mail train, if we will, because JP has an attachment question related to email. And he says, do mail attachments that I archive in folders in my mail program, not on iCloud, not on my Mac, stay attached to the email on the server, or do they only reside in the mail downloads folder deep in the OS on the Mac? The reason I ask, I'm teaching my wife to file her emails and not keep them in the inbox, the outbox, or the trash folder for access. That's good. I like this. That's good. Since these folders have behaviors that you have limited control over. True. So if she saves an email with, say, a video clip I sent her back in 2015, will it stay with the iCloud account in case something happens to the computer and it is wiped? This is a good question. So essentially, do mail attachments last forever? And the answer, the simple answer is that, and John, please correct me if I'm wrong, all email is sent as text, meaning any attachments are sort of irrevocably attached to the message. That said, most email servers do limit the total size. So when I send you a message with an attachment, John, my computer converts it from an 8-bit binary thing to a 7-bit text thing. I think that's still how it all works. And then I blast that to you. Like, it puts it all in one thing with, identifiers for different enclosures. They are MIME enclosures, just like the last question we were talking about, where your security certificates are MIME enclosures, and even your encrypted message is a MIME enclosure. And then when you get it, your client sort of translates that and says, okay, here's the text part of the message, here's the attachments part of the message, and all of that. But I think it's doing it all as sort of, a converted 7-bit text, but maybe email now is sent as binary. Maybe I'm wrong on that part, but it is all one package, right?
I'm pretty sure if you look at the raw email, last I did, you will see the encoding. And yeah, you're right. The reason they do this is that you can't assume that an email system can understand binary, because back in the old days, it just did text. So that's how you get around this, is you do this 8 to 7-bit encoding. It sends it like that. And then when it gets on the other end, it puts it back together.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So because of that, attachments are sort of irrevocably attached to their mail message, because it is just one big stream of data that your mail client, hopefully, is parsing through and dealing with. That said, MailDrop, Apple's solution to sending large attachments, is different, because that is referencing something that you've uploaded perhaps without your necessarily explicit knowledge, but you have to turn on the preference. If you go into Mail, Preferences, Accounts, select the account, you'll see an option for each of your accounts, Send Large Attachments with MailDrop. What that does is it uploads your large attachment to Apple's server securely, I believe, and then it sits there waiting for the recipient to download. But the way the recipient downloads it is there's a link in the email that says anybody that got this email can pull down this attachment. So in that case, no, it is not forever. So it depends on whether you've sent it with MailDrop or not. And so that's an important distinction here. But if it's truly an attachment to the email, it is stored with it forever. At least in my experience. I mean, I've got emails that go back, 1993, I think. And attachments and everything are all there, in their small glory, because, connection. I think we were on dial-up when we first started doing POP-based email, John. But yeah. So any thoughts on that one, John?
Yeah, I thought there was something in mail that had to do with attachments.
Okay.
No. Okay. Erase junk, erase deleted messages. Okay.
Yep.
The only thing I would say is that, back in the, just a little caveat here, especially in my corporate days, they would do everything they could to prevent us from using email as file storage, like having quotas and stuff like that. I mean, if it's your own hard disk, then, just keep in mind that, that's going to take up space, though, in this day and age, I don't think, you're able to get a hard drive large enough to just keep that in mind, is that, especially in a corporate setting, people may yell at you if you try to use email as file storage.
Well, it's just, even for our personal email, like it's not a good idea, especially with email being on, on the server, right? With most of us using IMAP email accounts, it's all client server based. So everything you have on your computer is synced to the server, unless it's in your, on my Mac or on my iPhone folders, in which case it's definitely not synced to the server. So you don't have backups or anything like that. But yeah, using email it's just an inefficient way to go and retrieve data usually. It's, it's not, unless you're obsessive about the way you organize it, it's, finding the email with the attachment, with the name and opening it up. Like, it's just, there are better ways, storing it in iCloud Drive, for example, is one, or, Dropbox, or
yes,
right. Like any of those things. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm with you, man. All right. Should we, any more on that one?
Nope.
Okay, then let's go to do some photo stuff, shall we?
Indeed.
Okay. Mark will kick us off here and asks, I have a continuing problem that I can't seem to solve in managing my photos. My workflow has always been to take photos using my iPhone, plug my iPhone into my iMac via a lightning cable, and sync all the photos to photos on Mac OS. I organize in photos on Mac OS into albums and such, and then I sync back all those to my iPhone via a lightning cable. He says, this works great for me as my photos on my Mac are my library and I just sync them over to iOS. But lately, when I try to sync them back, I get problems such as duplicates. I see 2 and sometimes more of each photo on my iPhone or iPad. Slow syncing is another problem, to the point that I can't even tell if it's working. And an admonition to unlock my iPhone when my iPhone is clearly unlocked. So his Mac is telling him to unlock his phone, even though his phone's unlocked. It says, I would like to not move to iCloud syncing, as the thought of paying every month for something that I do not really need bothers me. The local syncing, at least when it works, he says, is fine for my personal use. It's just managing a freaking database. Why is it not working? I'm not one to dip into conspiracy theories, but man, does it feel like they are deprecating this simple and free method to drive me to pay for iCloud space. He says, I'm using a 2019 27-inch iMac with a 6-core i5 running the latest Catalina. My iPhone 8 is running the latest iOS 13. Photos has 8,000 photos and 300 videos and is 47 gigs in size. He says, I currently have the 50 gig plan, which I'm paying for with iCloud, but upping that per month isn't something I really want to do, and I have no expectations that iCloud photo syncing would be seamless anyway. So yeah, this is a good, it's a good question. It stinks that you're dealing with this. And while I don't use this kind of workflow, so I can't really speak from experience, but so this is all going to be from the here's what I would do if I were there thought process. But I agree with you. It's like, this shouldn't be happening. What you propose doing should work, no problem. So I would, even though you're not using iCloud photo library, you might be using Photo Stream. So on your iPhone, go to settings, tap on your name, go to iCloud, go to photos, and see if upload to my photo stream is on. That might be the thing causing these duplicates here. It shouldn't, mind you, but just looking at all the vectors where these photos might get from Mark's iPhone to his computer, John, right? Like that's sort of the thing. And so assuming that's off, or if you turn that off and it doesn't change any of this, I would create a temporary new photos library on your Mac and import from it to see if it causes any of these problems, right? Import to and from. This is one of those, proceed carefully, preferably with lots of backups scenarios, because you don't want to test things only to leave them worse in the end. But I feel like this would be a worthwhile thing. And, if I were there, I'm hoping that either one of these would work, or in the process, we would see something that would perhaps trigger where to go on the next path. But yeah, I would, and I think it's hold down option to get the ability to either choose or create a new photos library to test with is I believe I have the answer in actually an upcoming question, but I think that's where it is. We'll get there. Yeah. Rebuilding the library with Option and Command while opening photos. So yeah, Option key will let you create or choose an alternate photos library if you already have one created. Option and Command while opening photos will bring up a dialog to let you rebuild it. So maybe one of those. I don't know. What do you think, John?
I'm kind of in the same boat with you in that I do iCloud Photos, so it's really not a worry. I'm surprised though, because when I do a manual import from my point and shoot camera, Photos is smart enough. It keeps track of, what's in its library, and it's like, hey, you're trying to import the same thing again. I don't know if they broke that feature, but yeah, I like what you suggested, because that's like a second avenue. But again, it should detect, this same name is something that is already in here. So
yeah,
I'm not sure why it's not warning you against that.
There's clearly a problem. The question is the problem on his iOS device? And it's probably not, because he implies that there are multiple iOS devices sort of suffering the same fate. So the question is it on the iOS device or devices, or is it on his Mac? And going with the presumption initially anyway that it's on the Mac, make a backup of your Photos library by all means. You're probably doing that already anyway, but just, make another one. And then create a new library and see, right? Because now you'll know if you can import back and forth and it's smooth and no problem. Now at least you know where to look. Okay, I've got a problem with my Photos library on my Mac. Now you can work on repairing that or any of those, kind of other things. But you want to troubleshoot down, where is the problem? And if it happens, potentially try your phone with another Mac with a fresh iPhoto or Photos library. Sorry, old habits die hard. But that way, is there something else on your Mac that's going on? Like maybe something that's fighting, you've got some contention over the USB port that's slowing things down and causing hiccups. And I mean, these things happen, right? Like my Mac in the office clearly has some problems in that it, maybe it's the Ethernet cable to my Mac in the office, right? But there's definitely something, we've seen it twice now, where it just sort of barfs all over the network because things have been totally fine since I told it to knock it off. I don't know what it was doing. Maybe it's a time machine backup. Like, I don't know. I'm anytime I notice it, I'm busy doing this. So I don't really get the option, but it seems to have it out for us, John. So I don't know. But yes, Mark, that's the path I would take. So any other thoughts on this one, John, before we go to Kent?
Nope.
Okay. Kent, I think we'll have similar things to share, but Kent says, I know there's got to be a quick fix for this, but I haven't found it. Today, when I launched my Photos app on my MacBook Pro running latest Catalina, it told me I had to rebuild my library. A few minutes later, it was finished and all my photos seemed to be there, but all my album data was gone. The albums still exist on my iOS devices as well as on our Mac, also running the latest Catalina under my account, and also in iCloud. While I haven't checked, I'm uncertain if they now exist in my Carbon Copy Cloner backup, which ran overnight last night. I would imagine that I could copy the library files from my iMac and replace the ones on my MacBook, but I'm not at all certain which ones are the ones to copy. My pictures, Photos library. So opening the package of his main Photos library on this affected MacBook Pro and looking in the database folder. So you would go into Home, Pictures, right click on your Photos library, if in fact that's where you store your Photos library, and choose Show Package Contents. He's now looking in the database folder, and he sent us a screenshot of this, which was really interesting. Because there's, I don't know, maybe a dozen files in there, and most of them have green checkboxes on them, but two, the photos.sqlite and photos.sqlite-shm files have red exclamation points on them. The Finder does not put green checkboxes or red exclamation points on anything by itself. It only does this, in my opinion, in my experience, when there's something doing syncing. Now, yes. Right? So, and syncing our Photos libraries, we found, is no bueno. So I have an idea as to how this might have happened. Of course, we're not on Kent's machine. We don't know. I don't think we've heard back from Kent quite yet. So we don't know if maybe Kent had Dropbox or Synology Cloud Station syncing his entire home folder, which would then sync this. That could sort of cause this problem. And I would investigate that at least a little bit to figure out why we're here and maybe avoiding that. Maybe if it is like something like, Synology Drive or Cloud Station or Dropbox, omitting the Photos folder from that syncing would probably be a good thing. And then after turning that off and not having something that's, fighting for these files, I would hold down Option and Command while opening Photos again to bring up that rebuild dialog. Failing that, you are in better shape because you have iCloud Photos. So if you can't get your Photos library on the MacBook Pro to be rebuilt, open with Photos with just the Option key down, like we were talking about in the last question. Create a new Photos library, then go into Photos, Preferences, General, and click the little button that makes that library the system library. Then, and it's going to tell you that it's got to turn off iCloud Photos on your Mac in order to do that. And that's a good thing. So let it do that. Then once it finishes doing that, go into Photos, Preferences, iCloud, and re-enable iCloud Photos. It will now sync your iCloud Photos from iCloud down to this Photos library, the new one you created on your Mac. Hopefully it's not corrupted. Make sure it's not being synced and all of that. And I think that'll get you past it. The beauty is you're essentially have a backup in iCloud that you can just use to repopulate. If you don't want to repopulate over the network, maybe you have network bandwidth limitations or something, you could copy the Photos library from your other Mac over your local network to this one, or on a flash disk if you've got a big enough, or an SSD or something, some external drive. You can, whatever it takes, get it there and then point it at that, and it will then update. I've done that before too, and it's actually worked. Make backups, please. Obviously, but yeah, I don't know. That's my investigation on this one, John. I don't know.
No, I'm with you.
Okay.
They were, they were fighting. Two different programs were fighting over this resource, and it went south. So
it went sideways. Yeah, exactly.
Or it went sideways. So this will get us back on the straight and narrow.
I think that's the issue. Yeah, I just know that syncing the Photos library it never ends well, and syncing. Running the Photos library across a network link also never ends well. Like you could sort of get away with it when we were using iPhoto, but the new format of the library with Photos, I don't even think Photos will launch if it realizes that you're trying to do that. So I don't know. It's sometimes you got to trust Apple when they tell you these things. So that's at least that's been my experience. So, all right. Sort of related to photos, we'll call it images. We'll use a little bit of creative license here to categorize these things together. Brent says, I have a 2013 27-inch iMac, and I've noticed an odd issue occasionally pop up on this machine. Sometimes there are artifacts or burn-in from a window that I have already minimized. For instance, today I was streaming some satellite radio via a tab in Safari. This might have gone on for maybe a half hour. After that was done, I quit Safari. However, I can still very lightly see some of the graphics from the open Safari tab sort of ghosted on my desktop. It was easier to see if I put a different, slightly transparent window over that part of the screen. It doesn't seem to go away by shutdown, but sometimes running the screensaver and or a PRAM reset does the trick. I'm wondering if there's some issue going on with the machine, or is this normal? No, I've seen this on plasma displays. It's a concern on OLED screens, but it's not supposed to be a thing on LCD screens, right? I didn't even think it was possible. Evidently, Apple has a couple of knowledge base articles about this, though, John. Yeah, and in essentially they advise a couple of things. You'll appreciate this, John, because in one of the articles, albeit one that's deprecated and no longer being updated, the advice is Apple calls this image persistence on Apple LCD displays. And they say with some Apple LCD displays, if you leave an unchanging image like a login screen or a desktop picture on the screen for a long time, you might see a faint remnant of the image even after a new image replaces it. This is called persistence. Well, that's Apple's term, but that's fine. The thing that they recommend is to prevent it using Energy Saver and things like that. Apple says, in the rare event that an image does become persistent, you can usually get rid of it by following these steps. And the steps include temporarily set Energy Saver to never sleep, then display an all-white pattern across the entire display for the same amount of time that the persistent image had been displayed on the screen. And then they guide you through creating a bright white image. And one of the things they say is create an all-white graphic in a graphics application such as Graphic Converter or Photoshop. So I thought that was pretty good that they mentioned Graphic Converter. We've loved that for a long time. And then they say turn the brightness down but not off to save the backlight bulb, so it doesn't matter about the brightness. It is just about the LCDs themselves, and then use that image displayed by use this as the image displayed by the screensaver. So you turn the screensaver on, but set it to never sleep, and it will just display this white image for however long you leave it. So like I said, I'd never heard of this image persistence before, but evidently it's a thing. So have you ever experienced this, John? I mean, not on an LCD.
Right.
Right.
I mean, back in the day, you would have this with a CRT, cathode ray tube. And I think the way to solve it is you would degauss the screen and it would like zap it with magnetic energy or something to get everything
relined up,
working correctly again.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. The degaussing of the screen.
Oh, I remember. I think I tossed it eventually, but one of the first screens I had from Apple, I think it was a 13-inch color, and it was a Trinitron tube they used at the time.
Yep.
But yeah, it had a button on the back, and if you pressed it, it would, the screen would wobble and all that, but it would usually get rid of any artifacts. But yeah, I'm also wondering if it's not a hardware thing, but maybe a GPU acting up.
Oh, interesting. Like somehow it's in the memory of the GPU. I mean,
I just think of the GPU when especially when people send in screenshots of the machine acting up, and you'll see like weird patterns across the screen, and they're like, "What's going on?"
Right. Huh.
So I don't know if the GPU's failing, or it could be this. It just, I don't know if it's
Yeah, I know. It's weird, man. It's weird. Yep. Well, that's hopefully, like I said, I was shocked to see that Apple had this, as their thing. Like I didn't even know that it was a thing. So I'm glad they at least know about it. Like this gives me hope that this is actually something that Brent will be able to solve, because, hopefully they've following use the screensaver, set the whole screen to just bright white or something. The new article doesn't say you have to do it with just a bright white screen. It says you can do it with anything. You just need to leave a screensaver on for as long as you had left the previous image on, and that, based on the nuances and specifics of your display, it will, deal with it. So I don't know, man. But hey, that's where we go. We've got a bunch of tips and follow-ups, John, and I can't wait to get to them. But I want to take a minute and talk about our next two sponsors, if that works for you.
Please do.
All right. This summer's been weird, but in some senses, it's actually been kind of nice. Being home with the four of us in our house, we've really had extra time together. It's truly extra time. We weren't expecting to have it. And we've been able to just kind of have some hang time with each other, which has been awesome. And our next sponsor, ExpressVPN, has allowed my son and I to have some hang time being able to watch things like Rick and Morty via Netflix in France, even though we're, only virtually traveling to France to watch it, if you will. And we can do that virtual travel with ExpressVPN, because you just pick your endpoint and then boom, you're there, and you can get to see the things that maybe you can't get to see at home. In addition to that, ExpressVPN is super secure, right? Their trusted servers are one of the things I love best about them, because their servers cannot track what you do because they don't have the ability to write any data. They just spin up from a RAM disk, essentially. So if they turn off the server, it saved nothing. It just turns back on and it's back at like ground zero again, which I think is pretty cool. And that way your ISP only knows that you're connecting to the ExpressVPN tunnel. They don't know anything about what you're doing. ExpressVPN doesn't track anything that you're doing. So you've got this super secure, private, super fast tunnel. And ExpressVPN is available on every device, phones, laptops, tablets, even your TV. And we've got a deal because if you use our link right now at expressvpn.com/MGG, you guessed it, an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. That's expressvpn.com/MGG, and our thanks to ExpressVPN for sponsoring this episode. You know, these days it seems like companies are putting CBD in everything. And CBD can be great for you. I've talked about how CBD really helped me finally sort of get over the final hump of this 10-year issue I had after I had Bell's palsy, which longtime listeners will remember when I could barely talk and we were still doing the show. Well, if you don't know where to start with CBD, there's a company in Vermont that's down to earth and doing things differently and simply, and that's Sunsoil. I have been able to test both the capsules and the drops, essentially, from Sunsoil. These drops are awesome because they flavor them. So I got the cinnamon ones and it tastes great. It's fantastic. And I have to tell you, Sunsoil, they sent me some stuff to test out and I've been buying it since then because the prices I'm seeing from Sunsoil are the best that I've seen anywhere. All their CBD oil is USDA certified organic. They grow hemp on their farms in Vermont and they never use pesticides, herbicides, or GMOs. And, because we're geeks, we like QR codes. Well, every bottle or jar or whatever has a QR code on it that you can look up on your phone and see exactly what is, in there. They have all the lab tests and everything so that you know that you're getting the real thing. And it's fantastic. I really have appreciated Sunsoil. Of course, I appreciate their sponsorship, but I just appreciate their products. And I'm so thankful for them. And you get a deal even off their already low prices. Sunsoil makes pure and simple CBD products at this unbeatable price, and you can get 30% off your first order by going to sunsoil.com/MGG. That's sunsoil.com/MGG for 30% off your first order. Go do it. Our thanks to Sunsoil for sponsoring this episode. All right, John, let's get to some of these tips, shall we? Listener John reminds us or tells us something. He says, in episode 827, you were describing Craig's CPU spikes. You read out a list of apps that Craig was running, and one of them, he says, was Parallels Tools. For the last couple of years, my 2015 MacBook Pro ran constantly hot, with the fan frequently kicking in. I checked everything obvious and eventually concluded it was likely just age and overall load and that I was placing on it rather than one specific app. In fact, this was one of the factors that drove me to recently upgrade to a new 2020 MacBook Pro. As soon as I configured my new machine, I encountered exactly the same issue. This caused me to investigate further, and long story short, I eventually discovered several people online complaining of Parallels Tools and performance. Lo and behold, the moment I quit Parallels Tools, my Mac ran completely cool and silent and has done so ever since. I feel frustrated by this, as software as simple as Parallels Tools shouldn't have that impact sitting silently in the background as it does. But if my experience can help Craig or anyone else, then I thought worth sharing. Thank you, John. Yes, great tip. I had I would not have expected Parallels Tools to be something that, that would run hot like that. That's, I don't know. Have you, I know we've both used Parallels Tools. I'm assuming you probably don't leave it running all the time on your machine, John, or maybe you would, maybe you do.
On this machine, I actually, when I did my last Parallels update, it said, hey, you want to install Parallel Tools? And I'm like, sure, why not? No, everything seems to be running cool. All right. Well, if you have a problem, you know what to look at. Yeah, well, I'm not running it on, I don't think I'm running it on my MacBook Pro.
Okay.
The only thing that I've had run up my fans on my machine was when I tried to run Sims 4. Is that Epic? Is
sure.
That from Epic?
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I ran that particular game, that's the only thing that I can recall in recent memory that drove up the fans, because it was set for making super duper graphics.
Super hoopy graphics. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I reduced the quality of the graphics, and then the fans backed off. So
okay. Well, maybe you need to get an eGPU for your Mac Mini, John.
Maybe.
I mean, like, it's like that. What, like $500 you can get one, and then you're rocking. I think. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Interesting. So all right. Well, good. Also, in episode 827, we were talking about changing account usernames, and Ben wrote in and says, I was a tad surprised neither of you knew about the process of changing a Mac user account name. In Mavericks and earlier, this was more difficult to accomplish, requiring a series of arcane terminal commands. However, Apple has made this really easy to do since Yosemite, and documents it in, of course, a support article. He says, as you folks indicated, the trick is to have an extra admin user account on hand from which to do the changes. Ideally, it's best to have that account set up in the past, so that you're not dealing with all of the setup assistant stuff that will happen with a new account if you're creating one. He says, in my work, this opportunity is often valuable to clients who acquired a used Mac from a seller who didn't know how to properly prepare it for them with all user accounts removed so that they could create their own from scratch. It enables them to personalize their computer, especially after I reveal the existence and value of the home folder in the first place. And as you noted, John, Ben says changing the full name starts propagating the Mac right away, though I think it's best to log out after doing so. So I will put this link to this article here. That's great. So you can even change the user account name, which changes the home folder. And he's totally right. It's a very short, like 1-page article that talks about renaming the home folder first and then rename the account. So very, very straightforward, this is great. Thanks, Ben. Good stuff, man. Had you taken a look at that knowledge base article, John? I thought that was pretty good.
No.
Okay. Well, it's pretty good. All right. How are we doing on time? Oh, we'll have time for cool stuff found. I'm excited. Mm-hmm. Great. So listener Nick says, in the last episode, Dave, you mentioned your trials and tribulations with Gmail G Suite. He says, I've thrown in the towel and switched to Fastmail. I highly recommend them. And no, I don't work for them. I just think they're awesome. They use real IMAP, not Google's strange Frankenstein version. He says they even have a quick and painless import function to bring over all your G Suite mail. This I did not know. This makes things different for me. It brings over your mail, your contacts, your calendars, if you have any of that stuff over there. He says just follow the prompts and sign in with your Google OAuth credentials, and it will slurp down all your stuff. It'll even periodically check your Google account for new mail until the new domain and all of the records propagate over. So they've really got this down. He says the seamless import also works with Yahoo, Outlook.com, and even iCloud. Or, of course, he says you can manually enter server information for a generic IMAP provider. They worked with Apple to use their push servers so you can get instant push notifications from Fastmail on iOS. Contacts and calendars are standard CardDAV and CalDAV as they support contact groups, unlike Google. App passwords are required for all your Macs and devices, but setup is easy with the optional downloading of a profile even. Oh, wouldn't that be better? Yeah. It says you can set up your own MX records and point to their name servers, or they can do everything for you. They use different spam filters that are super easy to manage. You just set up learn spam and not spam folders, and they learn from those, so you're not having to deal with the black box that is Google. Custom domain plans are $5 a month or $50 a year for 30 gigs of storage, or if you want 100 gigs of storage, you can just up that to $9 a month or $90 a year, and a 30-day free trial, he says. So yes, he doesn't work for them, but wow. Yeah. I'm about to be an empty nester, John, and I have a series of kind of projects that I've kicked off over the years, or put on the back burner over the years. And switching my email away from G Suite is most definitely one of them, especially ahead of next spring when G Suite won't work with the way we like to do things anymore because they won't let us. We said this in the last episode, but they won't let us log in securely. And when you log in securely, you can't use multiple email addresses, multiple from addresses. So yeah, we're probably going to need to be making it'll be time for some changes. So this is great. Thank you, Nick. That gives me, I had pretty much already planned on using Fastmail anyway, but I did not know about all this new stuff. It had been a long time since I taken a look at them. So yeah, there you go. Good stuff. I will definitely look back into that. All right. Any thoughts on that, John?
No, I've pretty much jettisoned my ISP's email.
Oh, for sure.
I only use it for one legacy purpose. Other than that, I've switched everything over to mostly my Apple email.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, okay.
Though I have some others.
Yeah,
too,
of course.
But
of course. Cool.
Yeah, you convinced me to go on that journey a while ago because you don't want to be stuck to your ISP because what if I move, which I don't think I will, but if I do.
Well, but what if a new provider comes into town and will offer you, gigabit synchronous fiber? Like you want to be able to just switch and tell your ISP, I'm done. Whereas if your email is tied to them, you're not as done as you thought you were, sir. We still have our shackles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From what I hear, that's not going to happen anytime soon.
I'm surprised for both you and me that neither one of us has fiber around. I mean, I've got a major university, 5 minutes from my house. And I think Portsmouth, which is a town 10 minutes away, has fiber, at least in some spots available. You've got, several universities and schools in your town, and you're in that Fairfield County corridor of people who, live and work in New York. Like I feel like this, especially if the stay-at-home trend continues, I think maybe that will help goose things along. Because I want faster uploads, man. This 40 megabits. I know it's way better than, especially after we talked last week about my experience on rural broadband. So I have to temper my complaints here. But I feel like, it could be faster. So I know it could be. Plus, I see friends that have, synchronous gigabit from like AT&T or whatever.
The thing is, I have it, Dave. I think I told you. I looked out my window one time and I saw this big, I didn't know what it was, but it had a little tag and a phone number on it, or actually the tag. And I looked the company up and it's like, yeah, hey, that's a I have a fiber junction or whatever you want to call it, or switch outside. Yeah. On the pole, but it looks like it. I don't know if it's a company that laid it down and then put it on hold, but it's, as far as I can tell, it's fiber.
Can you figure out which company it is and call them up?
I tried calling them a couple of times. I found their website, but it looks like they're not into residential.
Okay.
I think they're more like business.
Yeah, but if you tell them ask them what a business account costs. You never know. It might be like, we'll run it right to you. Because you're sort of in a commercial district there with, you've got like stores across the street and stuff. Like, so they might be, I don't know. Me.
Yeah, and we have something, I think, again, I think it's only business, but I think it's called Lightstream, which is an Optimum offering, but it's like I had it when I worked at one place in Fairfield County. We had Lightstream, and it was fiber to a business. But yeah, I could call them up. The thing is, every time I called, I never got anybody on the phone.
Right. So well, maybe nowadays they'll be a little more, interested in chit chatting. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have it on my calendar every 3 months to check for FiOS here because it's so close, but nothing yet. So maybe some 5G thing or what the satellite Starlink thing that we were talking about. Like maybe something will change. Something will break open. I think. I don't know. All right.
No, it's not Lightstream. I think it's here we go. Light Path.
Okay.
which links to Altice Business, which Altice is our ISP. Okay, so there's a relationship between them.
Okay. So, yeah. All right, man. Well, that's your path. I'll let them know we mentioned it in the show, or you can, and then maybe that gets the right attention of the right people. So, Yep. All right. Yeah, but yeah, we got to get this, John. We got to figure it out. Somebody out there, if somebody out there knows, and has any advice, please let us know. We'd love to hear. Okay. Jeff asks, he says, I hope you guys are well. So far, so good. Thanks, Jeff. I decided to install the public beta of Big Sur. Okay. I'm trying to find the location of where Photo Booth stores photos and videos that have been created. And more importantly, the reason I'm trying to find it is, do you know of a way to change the storage location for photos or video created by Photo Booth? He says, I would love for them to automatically upload to my Dropbox. Okay, so I did not dig into this on Big Sur, but certainly in Catalina, I have not found a way to control where Photo Booth stores its stuff. But there's that we never give up here. We're bullheaded persistence. Remember, that's how we go. That's how we're going to get our full gigabit broadband, John, is going to apply here. And that is Hazel from Noodlesoft, because what Hazel will do is essentially watch your folders. Apple used to have a feature called Watched Folders, and Noodlesoft's Hazel actually does what we all hoped it would do, what Apple's feature would do. And so you can go get this and you point Hazel at a folder. So it would be for you. I don't think they've changed this in Big Sur, but it would in Catalina. It's Home, Pictures, Photo Booth. That's where it saves the stuff. Point Hazel to that folder and just set up a rule in Hazel that says take anything that appears in this folder and move it to your Dropbox folder or a subfolder thereof. And then that's it. You're done. It will your Photo Booth folder will remain empty. I think Photo Booth might therefore also remain empty. So fair warning on that, but it will move them. So you could copy them over to your Dropbox folder if you want to do that and also have them in Photo Booth. But that's that would be the way to do it. I mean, I guess you could also create a symlink between the two and then, like symlink, create the folder in your Dropbox, delete the Home, Pictures, Photo Booth folder, and then symlink the Dropbox folder to your Photo Booth folder. That might also, depending on how Apple has done things in Photo Booth, that might also work with a shortcut or an alias. What do we call them now? I think aliases. Yeah. So any one of those could work. Lots of options. I don't know. This is just geeks geeking out. What do you think, John?
Would a smart folder be able to do? Never mind.
Okay.
Just reminding myself I should play with smart folders. I thought smart folders could do something like this.
But smart folders aren't actually folders, right? Like they just exist as like theoretical constructs, and they're almost like searches, right? It's not an actual folder stored somewhere that could then be synced to your Dropbox, right? They're just like a thing that lives in your Finder sidebar or something. Yeah, you're right. I don't do a lot with folders, with smart folders. That's interesting. So yeah, what happens if I create a smart folder?
Yeah, I think it's more search based.
Okay.
So
okay.
I thought you could attach actions to them. But
okay.
You can. Oh well.
Yeah. So I got a smart folder. Yeah. It's just you're right. It's search based. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I like the idea though. But yeah, Hazel or a shortcut or a symlink would almost certainly do it. So, fun. All right, some cool stuff found. We got time, plenty of time. Clive, I love cool knowledge base articles, and Clive says he found an article titled, I'm not sure. The title of the article is about wireless roaming for enterprise on Apple's website. And he was looking for how devices in your home, iOS devices specifically, roam when you're on a mesh network. Well, this explains all of it, this article. It's like They say this article is intended for system administrators for a school, business, or other organization. Yeah, it's also for us Wi-Fi geeks. Like, this is freaking amazing. And they talk about trigger thresholds and roam scans and roam candidate selection criteria and roam performance and how to use the Wi-Fi scanner in airport utility on your phone to get, kind of a feel for what your phone is going to do. The trigger threshold is really interesting. Because what that is the minimum signal level that your phone or Mac needs to maintain a connection. And when it gets, they use the term exceeds negative 70 dBm, they mean lower than negative 70 dBm. So negative 71 is lower than negative 70 because that's how that works with negative numbers. So the higher the negative number, when that gets above, see, I'm doing it, John. When it gets lower than negative 70 dBm, at that point, your phone says, I've got a weak signal. Now I've got to scan for a new place to go to. So we always talk about how it's truly up to your phone to decide, it's up to the client devices on a mesh network to decide. But there are things that the mesh network can communicate down in some of the smart ones like eero and Plume. And I'm trying to think if there's, and like Unify. Can do that. A lot of the other ones are what we call dumb meshes, where they just leave it up to the client to do all this stuff. But this explains all this stuff. So very, very cool. So anyway, this is, it's talking about 802.11k. John, this is talk about like fun little projects. Dig into this. So thank you, Clive. That is definitely cool, geeky stuff found. I love it. And of course, we've linked it from the show notes. So did you, Have you digged into that? Have you dug into that, John?
There's a similar article that I don't think is enterprise based.
Okay.
That I found at one point. Yeah, it outlines the rules. And I think
the
most
rules
of it is.
Yeah.
It's like, how does it select it? And yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the signal strength.
Signal strength. There's another section that talks about how it chooses between 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, which is also cool. So, yeah, it's fun. I love this stuff, as listeners know. All right. So that's in the show notes. Bob says EarthDesk for Apple TV 4K was just released to the app stores. This is a beautiful high-def view of Earth, clouds, daylight, moonlight, and optional earthquakes, storms, and ISS tracking. He says it's been my Mac desktop for years. I am so happy to have it on the Apple TV now. So, yes, EarthDesk is now Apple TV compatible. So I put that in there too, Mr. Braun. You need an Apple TV for that. You can't just use the Apple TV app on your smart TV. This is one of those things where it's an Apple TV app, so you have to have an Apple TV to do it. Because it comes up in conversation.
I got an Apple TV.
I know. Yeah, that's good.
I got to say, I like the ones that are built in are pretty dazzling themselves.
Yeah. Cool. All right. In the last episode, John, we were talking about broadcasting, teachers needing to broadcast sound from the front of the room to the back of the room. And we got quite a few thoughts about this. The first one is from listener Don, who says you could use the Microphone Live app on the iPhone. It will allow you to speak into an iPhone microphone and then send the audio to any speaker that your iPhone can see. Bluetooth, AirPlay, even your iPhone speaker, although you probably if you like headphones, sure, but otherwise it'd create a lot of feedback because it's pretty low latency. I was messing with it with my phone and it was in a feedback loop right away when I told it, it's okay. Do it out of the phone speaker. It was like, I don't think that's a good idea. And I did it anyway. And, so there you go. So it's called Microphone Live and it's a free app and it'll let you, you just attach your speakers to the phone, pair them with Bluetooth or however you want to do it. You wire them in, and then whatever microphone you have on your phone, you get to pick both microphone and speakers from the thing. So if you've got a Bluetooth mic, sure. Bluetooth is going to introduce its own delays. So, be aware of that on either the input or the output or output. And, but otherwise, yeah, it's pretty good. So thanks for that, Don. It's pretty cool, huh, John?
Indeed.
Yeah. Peter also has a solution for us there. And Peter says, folks looking for classroom audio options should take a look at lightspeedtech.com. That's lightspeed-tek.com. We've been using these in my district for years in classrooms with students who need clearer audio throughout the room. They work really well and aren't affected by crowded school Wi-Fi. So this is a sort of, its own sort of inbuilt system of a transmitter and receivers that you could either place at certain students' desks or even around the room. So they've been solving this problem for a little while. So if anybody's about to deal with that or dealing with that in their classrooms now with, extra distancing and all that, there you go. And then Peter also tells us, John, about something we keep hearing about, and that is anyone looking to really ramp up their experience with the Touch Bar and Better Touch Tool should look at the Golden Chaos presets for Better Touch Tool. He says, I really wasn't taking full advantage of my Touch Bar until I found this, all the buttons you can imagine, and then some without having to fiddle in the Better Touch Tool interface. So you messed with this, right?
Yes. And it's it's a good reason to have the Touch Bar. Apple's implementation is very minimal.
Okay.
I would agree. Some people are like, what am I going to do with this?
Right.
We did show that you could use it in a very limited fashion to accomplish certain, get certain shortcuts that are missing. But other than that, I mean, mostly what it does is, the built-in functionalities, it'll show you some shortcuts that either they define or you define.
Sure.
And you'll get some stuff on the left side that's contextual to whether you're in the Finder or Safari or mostly Apple apps from what I can see.
Okay.
This changes everything. Well, not everything, but
really? Okay.
It makes it a much better experience. So here's the key things that they do. So first off, Better Touch Tool, I had a version that had expired.
Okay.
I had downloaded directly from their site and then, lost interest.
Sure. Yeah, you had to
get
mess
back
with
to
it.
it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, man. Well, here's some good news. It's part of SetApp. So if you have SetApp, you have this. And I have SetApps and I have Better Touch Tool. Is one of the highest recommended things when you use their app browser. Huh. So anyways, I installed it and actually I was able to, very quickly. So someone had a request, how can I do a sleep screen? And I was able to create a button, do that like very quickly.
Okay.
Created the button. Right. The action is sleep screen. And I think I titled the button ZZZ. And once I was done, that appeared in my Touch Bar.
So it's that simple. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So for anybody with a Touch Bar, this is like mandatory, it sounds like.
Because what they do is they introduce a whole bunch of what they call presets, is what this is called in their terminology. But here's what it does for you, Dave, very quickly. So once you install this, you get widgets. So they give you widgets on the right side of the screen. So rather than your user-defined shortcuts, you get widgets.
Got it.
Notifications, Siri, search, weather, calendar, things like that. But here's the fun part. So if you press down on some of these, because it's a widget, like for example, so they have a weather widget. If you press it, it'll then populate the left side with more details about it, like what the weather's going to be for the next several days. The calendar widget, if you press down on that, it'll actually show you your appointments. Like it showed me my appointment for today. And when I clicked on it, it actually opened up calendar, and and I dug into this a bit, and you can actually tell it which calendar app you're using. So you would even like it, because I know you like to use BusyCal,
right,
which is Apple Calendar.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right. So
they have widgets.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of other things. It gives you the equivalent of a dock. But they also have custom widgets for a lot of apps, which Apple doesn't introduce. And I think they actually have like a little app store for add-ons that people have created or they've created. Wow. Yeah, so it's Yeah, it does so much more. I mean, it'll make you look at your touch bar in a different way because it's actually providing useful information.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. No, this sounds like the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, another thing I noticed. Okay, another one. Then moving on. So, say I'm running mail. Exciting. Yeah. What it automatically does. So if I'm running mail, all the way to the left of the screen, it'll show me. Oh, by the way, you have this many new messages in your inbox. And it'll show you the status for a lot of other apps as far as, hey, you got new stuff here. You better pay attention to it.
Got it. Cool. All right. That's awesome.
It's pretty sweet. So, yeah, if you had a touch bar, which I guess you don't at this point. I don't. No, my MacBook Air does not have a touch bar. I've had them with the most recent, the 13-inch MacBook Pro that I tested that, with the sort of the new low-end MacBook Pro that I tested to compare with the Air back in the spring had one of these for sure. But I had not dug into this, so I missed out. So I'll need to dig back in. Yeah, this is good. Okay, cool. All right. Thank you for that. That's great. One last thing I want to point out, we always need more storage in our Synologies or our NAS devices in general. And it's good to be proactive about replacing the drives that are in there. I also recommend that you don't buy a bunch of drives from the same place at the same time and put them all in your NAS at the same time, because many of us have found and continue to find that when drives from the same batch are put into service at the same time in the same unit, they all start to die at the same time. And that's a bad scenario. So you want to be aware of all of these things. You want to be proactive about replacing them so you're not finding yourself in a scenario where you've got dead drives or dying drives. And we've talked a lot about the Seagate Iron Wolf drives on the show. I'm becoming less enamored with those, John. And this is going somewhere, by the way. They've become yes, they have the extra cool integration features with the Synology, but quite frankly, I don't really use those or care about them for my usage. And Seagate's Exos drives, EXOS drives, are rated twice as long as the Iron Wolf drives. They're supposed to be more expensive, but a lot of times I find them cheaper than the Iron Wolf drives. And so I'm looking to those Exos drives as my, as I'm needing to replace things. And I've got some 14 terabyte drives in my main disk station that are Iron Wolf drives that are already starting to die, which after 2 years, they shouldn't be at all. But they are. I have 3 of them, and 2 of them, one of them is already out, done. The other one is, one of the other ones is questionable. The third one, not yet, but I know it's coming. So I've been looking at the Exos drives, and I figured, well, if I'm going to buy new drives, I'll buy 16 terabytes. So I did some searching, and the smart people on Reddit figured something out. You can buy a 16 terabyte Exos drive, naked, just the drive, from Amazon or Newegg for let's say $390. But you can buy the Seagate 16 terabyte expansion desktop thing for somewhere between $295 and $305. So quite a bit less. And if you shuck the enclosure that contains that, you'll inside find an enterprise grade Exos 16 terabyte drive. Technically, I think there's going to be a potential. So the warranty on an Exos drive is 3 years. The warranty on this Seagate 16 terabyte expansion desktop is 1 year. So if you put in the serial number of the expansion desktop enclosure, you get a 1 year warranty on your Seagate account. If you shuck the enclosure and take the drive out and put the serial number of the drive into your Seagate account, or at least when I did, now twice, I get a 3 year warranty on that. Doesn't mean that if I need warranty support, Seagate won't ask me some questions that I can't answer properly down the road. So your mileage may vary. I'm just telling you what I've done to save a little bit of money. But yeah, and plus it's fun. I mean, it's not really fun, but it's sort of fun getting a drive and shucking it because you get an extra power supply and USB-C cable, or no, USB 3 cable, I should say, not USB-C. Mm-hmm. So you can put that into your box of cables that you never throw away. So that's exciting. So $300 for a 16 terabyte enterprise class drive. Like I said, I bought 2 of them. I bought them each 2 weeks apart.
so that I would get different batches of drives. So, you know, like hopefully not having the problem that I'm having now. So anyway, that's that was my cool stuff found contribution for today. So that's what I got. And I think that's all we've got time for, my friend. It's time to go. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, it's not quite time for me to get a replacement drive, but it may be soon. I'll have to look at my various drives.
Be proactive,
I think they may be getting on 3 years. Well, I have them set. I have it set. Synology lets you set the number of bad blocks upon which it will warn you that something's wrong. And I think by default they set it to 50, Dave. I set it to 1.
Okay, yeah.
Because to me, once the drive gets to the point where it identifies a block as bad, my experience has been that does not, the damage does not stop.
You know, I've got a drive in my dad's disk station that has a certain number of bad blocks. I want to say it's 38. That number has not changed in a year.
Oh. Okay.
But I've got a drive in my disk station here that like once a week, I'm getting notifications saying the number of bad blocks has increased. That's to your point, that's where it's like, okay, it's got to go. Like, no. I'm not interested in playing this game anymore. So, yeah, no bueno. All right. Well, it's time, my friend. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Thanks for all your questions and your tips and your cool stuff found, all the things that we love here. Thanks for visiting our sponsors. Thanks for your premium contributions. We are at like 1 hour 30, so I'm not going to take your extra time today to read through the list of people to thank, but we will do that next week, I promise, because it is super important to us. MacGeekGab.com/premium if you want to learn more. And go leave us a review. Go to MacGeekGab.com/reviews and leave us a review on your favorite platform of choice. It helps. It's good. You got anything to share there, Mr. Braun, before we're out of here?
No.
Okay.
All good.
All right. Well, folks, thank you. Like I said, visit our sponsors. Thanks to our sponsors, eero.com/MGG, Linode.com/MGG, ExpressVPN.com/MGG, Sunsoil.com/MGG, and of course, our ongoing sponsors like Barebones.com, Smilesoftware.com/podcast, lots of others. It's good. It is good. All right. Despite the network hiccups, John, I think we made it to the end.
We did. And Dave, especially in this day and age here, you're going to be traveling, right?
I know. I got to get on an airplane, man. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, now more than ever, the one thing you definitely don't want to do, Dave, is you don't want to get caught.
Made up.